I never thought I would be sitting in a courtroom staring at my own parents across the aisle like they were strangers. But there I was, 32 years old, watching my mother and father try to take half of everything I had worked for. That little 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. It took me 8 years of sacrifice to buy it. 8 years of early mornings and late nights. And now my parents claimed I owed my brother half of it, for his fresh start. Before I tell you what happened in that courtroom, I want to know where you are watching from today. Drop your city in the comments below. And if you have ever felt like the black sheep of your family, hit that like button right now. Trust me, you are going to want to subscribe for this one, because what I am about to reveal changed everything. Now, let me take you back to where this nightmare began. I grew up in a 2-story house with a white picket fence in suburban Ohio. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. My father, Harold, worked as a plant manager at a manufacturing company. My mother, Linda, did part-time accounting. I was born in 1992, and my brother Derek came along 3 years later in 1995. For as long as I can remember, something felt off in our home. I could not put it into words when I was young, but as I grew older, the picture became painfully clear. The differences in how my parents treated us started showing early. When Derek turned 8, my parents bought him a brand new Nintendo system for his birthday. That same year, I got hand-me-down toys from our cousins. When I asked my mother why, she patted my head and said, "Derek is still little honey. He needs to have fun. You are older now. You understand." I was 10 when my parents started assigning me chores. I washed dishes after dinner, mowed the lawn every Saturday, and cleaned the bathrooms on Sundays. Derek never had to lift a finger. When I pointed this out, my father said Derek was too young. Years passed and Derek grew older, but the chores never came. By then, the excuse had changed to, "He is not used to it." The discipline was different too. I remember bringing home a report card with a B+ in math when I was 11. My parents grounded me for 2 weeks. No television, no video games, no going outside to play with friends. But when Derek brought home a D in the same subject 2 years later, my mother just sighed and said, "You will try harder next time, sweetie." The moment that truly opened my eyes happened when I was 12 years old. I had been saving my birthday money and allowance for 3 years to buy a bicycle. A red Schwinn with black handles. I can still picture it perfectly. I counted every dollar and finally had enough. 2 weeks after I bought it, Derek decided he wanted it. He threw a tantrum in the living room, crying and screaming that it was not fair. My parents pulled me aside and told me to let Derek borrow it. "Just for a little while," my mother said. "He really wants to ride it." Derek destroyed that bicycle in 1 week. He left it out in the rain, crashed it into a fence, and bent the front wheel beyond repair. When I asked my parents to make him pay for it, they looked at me like I had said something outrageous. "It was an accident," my father said. "You cannot blame your brother for an accident." That night, I cried alone in my room. Not because of the bicycle, but because I finally understood where I stood in this family. I was not the favorite. I was not even second. I was simply there. The responsible one. The one expected to give and sacrifice and understand. And Derek. He was the sun that everyone orbited around. High school only widened the gap between us. I threw myself into my studies and finished in the top 10% of my class. I joined the basketball team and worked part-time at a grocery store starting at 16. Every dollar I earned went into my savings because I knew better than to ask my parents for anything. Derek's high school experience was different. His grades hovered around average and he constantly got into trouble. When he got kicked off the football team for his attitude, my parents blamed the coach for not understanding him. On his 16th birthday, they surprised him with a Honda Civic worth $25,000. I never got a car from them. When I graduated, I earned a partial scholarship to college. It covered about 40% of the tuition. I needed help with the rest, so I did something I had promised myself I would never do. I asked my parents for support. Their answer came in an email from my father. I have kept that email for 14 years. I printed it out and carried it in my wallet as a reminder of exactly who I was dealing with. Ashton. My father wrote, You have always been independent. That is your strength. Do not expect anything from us. You are on your own. Your mother and I have already committed our resources to helping Derek. He needs it more than you do. You will figure it out. You always do." I read that email over and over until the words blurred. I did not cry. I did not scream. I just felt hollow inside, like someone had carved out a piece of me and left nothing but empty space. But something else happened that day. A fire ignited in my chest, a determination to prove that I could build a life without them. I printed that email and tucked it into my wallet. Every time I wanted to give up, I would read those words again. You are on your own, and I would keep pushing forward. College was a battlefield. My scholarship covered less than half the tuition, and student loans piled up fast. To survive, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously. I delivered newspapers before sunrise, shelved books at the campus library in the afternoons, and waited tables at a restaurant on weekends. Sleep became a luxury I could not afford. Most nights I got 5 hours if I was lucky. There were no parties for me, no spring breaks in Florida, no lazy Sundays sleeping in. While other students were building memories, I was building a future one, exhausting shift at a time. 4 years later, I graduated with a degree in business administration and a 3.7 GPA. I also graduated with $65,000 in student debt, but every penny of that degree was mine. I had earned it without a single dollar from my parents. The years after college were just as grueling. I started at the bottom of a logistics company earning $42,000 a year. I rented a tiny studio apartment, ate instant noodles more nights than I care to remember, and said no to every vacation and luxury. Each month, at least 30% of my paycheck went straight to my student loans. On evenings and weekends, I picked up freelance work to accelerate my payments. My dedication paid off. I got promoted twice in 4 years because I showed up early, stayed late, and never complained. By 28, I had paid off every cent of my student loans. By 30, I had saved enough for a down payment on a house, and at 31, I signed the mortgage papers for a 3-bedroom home in the suburbs. The house cost $285,000. My down payment was $57,000, exactly 20%. I had saved that money over 8 years of sacrifice. The mortgage was in my name alone, funded entirely by my own income. Not a single dollar came from my family. The day I signed those papers, I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. These were not tears of sadness. For the first time in my life, I owned something that was truly, completely mine. Something no one could take away from me. Or so I thought. While I was grinding away at building my future, Derek was busy destroying his. Our parents had paid for his entire college education, roughly $120,000. He changed majors 3 times because he could not find his passion. He graduated with a degree in communications and no idea what to do next. His first venture was a bar he wanted to open with a friend. My parents gave him $50,000 to get started. The bar closed after 8 months because of poor management. Derek blamed his business partner for being unreliable. Next, Derek decided to become an entrepreneur. He wanted to start a dropshipping business he had seen promoted on social media. My parents handed over another $30,000. That business collapsed in 5 months. Derek said the market conditions were unfavorable. Then came cryptocurrency. Derek heard from friends that he could make a fortune trading digital coins. My parents gave him $40,000 to invest. He lost everything within 3 months. He claimed he had been scammed. But the worst was yet to come. Somewhere along the way, Derek discovered online gambling. He convinced himself it was the fastest way to win back everything he had lost. Small wins at the beginning hooked him deep. Then the losses started piling up. He borrowed money from dangerous people to keep playing. My parents bailed him out multiple times, though they never told me the exact amounts. Derek lost his job because he kept showing up late exhausted from staying up all night gambling. His girlfriend left him after she discovered he had been stealing money from her purse. At 29 years old, my brother had burned through nearly every opportunity handed to him. During this time, my parents kept dragging me into Derek's chaos. Every family visit turned into a lecture about helping my brother. "Derek is struggling," my mother would say, her eyes pleading. "You have a good job. Can you not help him? Family supports each other," my father added. "You are doing well. Derek needs you." One night, Derek called me in tears. He said some dangerous people were threatening to hurt him over gambling debts. Against my better judgment, I gave him $10,000. It was my entire emergency fund. He promised to pay me back within 6 months. 6 months came and went without a word. When I finally asked about the money, Derek exploded. "I cannot believe you are bringing up money when I am going through hell," he shouted through the phone. "You have no idea what I am dealing with." When I told my parents about the unpaid debt, they took his side. "You should not pressure him right now," my mother said. "He is fragile." 3 months later, Derek called again. He needed $15,000 this time. I said no. His voice turned cold. "You have a whole house now. You are basically rich. I have nothing." "I have a mortgage," I replied. "I have bills. That house is not free money." "You have always been selfish," he spat. "This is exactly why nobody in this family likes you." Derek told our parents that I had refused to help him. They called me that same night, and my mother was crying. "How can you be so heartless to your own brother?" she sobbed. After that conversation, I was slowly cut off from family gatherings. Christmas came that year, and for the first time in my life, I was not invited home. 6 months after I refused Derek's request, I received a text message from my mother. "Family meeting this Sunday. Important. Please come." I walked into my parents' living room that Sunday afternoon to find all 3 of them already seated. My father sat in his armchair with his arms crossed. My mother perched on the edge of the sofa, clutching a tissue. Derek slouched in this corner, refusing to meet my eyes. The air felt thick with tension. Something was very wrong, Ashton. My father began, his tone formal and cold. "We need to discuss your house." My stomach dropped. "What about my house?" My mother leaned forward. "Derek needs a place to start over. He has nothing, Ashton. Nothing. And you have an entire house all to yourself." "What exactly are you asking me to do?" My father slid a piece of paper across the coffee table toward me. "We want you to sign over 50% ownership of your house to your brother." I stared at the paper like it might bite me. "You want me to give Derek half of my house, the house I paid for entirely by myself?" "It is not giving," my mother said, as if explaining something simple to a child. "It is sharing. That is what families do." "You have always had things easier than Derek," my father added. "This is the least you can do." I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. "No. Absolutely not. That house is mine. I worked for 8 years to buy it. I sacrificed everything for it. I will not give it away." Derek finally looked up, his eyes full of resentment. "See? I told you he would say no. He has always been like this. Selfish." My father's expression hardened. "If you will not do this willingly, we will find another way." I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. "Then do what you have to do, but I am not signing anything." 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived from the county courthouse. I had to read it 3 times before the words sank in. My parents were suing me, their own son. The lawsuit claimed that there had been a family contribution toward my house purchase. They demanded the court award 50% of the property's value to Derek, citing fairness within the family. I sat alone in my living room that night, staring at the legal papers in the darkness. My own parents had taken me to court. The people who were supposed to love me unconditionally were now trying to steal everything I had built. But as the shock wore off, something else took its place. Resolve. I called my friend Kyle, who I had known since college. He connected me with a property lawyer named Marcus, who had a reputation for winning tough cases. When Marcus reviewed my situation, he shook his head in disbelief. "They do not have a legal leg to stand on, but they are banking on you settling out of court to avoid the embarrassment." "I will not settle," I told him. "I want to fight this." "Then we need evidence. Everything you have." I spent the next several weeks gathering every piece of documentation I could find. Mortgage papers showing my name as the sole borrower. Bank statements proving the down payment came entirely from my account. Tax returns demonstrating I had supported myself since 18. Then I pulled out the email from my father, the one I had kept in my wallet for 14 years. "Do not expect anything from us. You are on your own." Marcus read it and smiled. "This is perfect. They basically put their whole defense in writing over a decade ago." We also subpoenaed my parents' bank records. What we found confirmed what I had always suspected. Over the past 10 years, they had transferred $283,400 to Derek. Nearly $300,000 to the son who squandered every opportunity, while the son who asked for nothing received exactly that. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights humming overhead, and rows of bench seating that felt more like a church than a hall of justice. Judge Patterson presided from the front, a silver-haired woman in her 50s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. My parents sat on the opposite side with their lawyer. They looked confident righteous, even as if they truly believed they were in the right. Derek sat in the row behind them, his shoulders hunched, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Their lawyer presented the case first. He spoke about family traditions of support and mutual assistance. He argued that because my parents raised me, any success I achieved was partially due to their contribution. He claimed Derek deserved a fair share to rebuild his life. Then my father took the stand. "We raised Ashton," he said, his voice steady. "We gave him everything he needed to succeed. That house exists because of the foundation we provided." My mother testified, next to tears streaming down her face. "We just want fairness. Derek has nothing. Ashton has everything. How is that right? I watched them perform their roles and I felt strangely calm, because I knew what was coming. When it was my turn, I walked to the witness stand and faced the judge. "Your Honor," I began, "I would like to present several documents for the court's consideration." I started with my mortgage papers and bank statements. This documentation proves that 100% of my down payment and every mortgage payment came from my personal accounts. There was no family contribution of any kind. The judge examined the papers carefully. Next, I would like to read an email I received from my father when I was 18 years old. I pulled out the printout I had carried for 14 years, and I quote, "Ashton, do not expect anything from us. You are on your own. Your mother and I have already committed our resources to helping Derek. He needs it more than you do." My mother gasped. My father's face went pale. I also have text messages from my mother. I read aloud, "We have given everything to Derek because he needs it more than you do. You will be fine." The courtroom was silent. "Finally, Your Honor, I have the bank records obtained through subpoena showing every transfer my parents made to my brother over the past decade." I paused to let the number sink in. "The total comes to $283,400. I heard Derek inhale sharply. He could not look at me. He could not look at anyone. I stood and faced my parents directly. "Your Honor, when I was 18 years old, my parents told me I was on my own, and I accepted that. I worked 3 jobs through college, paid off $65,000 in student debt by myself, and saved for 8 years to buy a house. I never asked them for a single cent. Now they are here claiming they contributed to my success." I shook my head. The only thing they ever contributed was the motivation to prove I could survive without them. "They have given my brother nearly $300,000 over the years. I received nothing except an email telling me not to expect anything, and now they want half of my house. Not because they deserve it, but because they have run out of money to fund my brother's failures. This lawsuit is not about family. It is not about fairness. It is about punishing me for being self-sufficient, and I refuse to be punished for working hard." Judge Patterson studied my parents for a long moment. My mother was sobbing. My father stared at the table, unable to meet the judge's gaze. Derek sat frozen, his face burning red. The judge cleared her throat. "The court finds no evidence whatsoever of any financial contribution from the plaintiffs toward the defendant's property. In fact, the evidence clearly demonstrates the opposite. The defendant was explicitly told he would receive no family support, and he built his life accordingly. She picked up her gavel. This claim is dismissed in its entirety. Furthermore, the plaintiffs are ordered to pay the defendant's legal fees in the amount of $12,000. This court will not be used as a tool for family grievances that have no legal basis. The gavel came down with a crack that echoed through the room. I stood, gathered my documents, and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard my father call out, "Ashton, wait." I did not look back. The first weeks after the trial were harder than I expected. I had won the case, but I did not feel victorious. I felt empty. The verdict had confirmed what I always knew, yet somehow having it declared in a courtroom made the reality more painful. Some nights I woke up at 3 in the morning staring at the ceiling wondering if I had made the right choice. Not about defending myself, but about everything. About hoping things could be different. About showing up to that family meeting. About caring at all. The image that haunted me most was not my parents' pale faces or their tears. It was Derek, the way he could not lift his head to look at me. That image followed me into my dreams. But slowly, things began to shift. Kyle started coming over more often. He never pushed me to talk about what happened. He would just show up with a 6-pack of beer fire up the grill in my backyard and talk about football or work or nothing at all. His presence reminded me that family is not always about blood. A month after the trial, I started seeing a therapist. For the first time in my life, I spoke openly about my childhood, about the favoritism, about the email, about feeling invisible in my own home. My therapist helped me put names to things I had experienced: emotional neglect, parental favoritism, manipulation. She also helped me understand something crucial: protecting yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. By the 3rd month, I started pouring energy into my house. I repainted the living room walls a warm shade of gray. I built raised garden beds in the backyard and planted tomatoes and peppers. I bought new furniture and arranged everything exactly how I wanted. Each small change was a declaration. This is mine. I built this. I deserve this. Around that time, Kyle introduced me to someone from another department at work. Her name was Jenna. She had kind eyes and a laugh that made rooms feel brighter. On our first date, she asked me about my family, and I told her everything, the whole ugly story. She listened without judgment, without pity, without trying to fix anything. She just heard me. "That took a lot of courage," she said when I finished, "to stand up for yourself like that." I had never thought of it as courage before. 6 months after the verdict, my phone buzzed with a message from an unexpected number. It was Derek. "I know you probably will not respond," his message read. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry, for everything. You did not deserve any of it. I have started going to Gamblers Anonymous meetings. I am trying to get better. I do not expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know." I read that message dozens of times over the following days. I did not reply. Not because I hated him, but because I was not ready. Maybe someday I would be. Maybe I would not, and I realized that was okay. My parents never reached out. I never contacted them either. The silence between us was a choice we all made, and I learned to accept it. Some relationships cannot be repaired. That is not always someone's fault. Sometimes it is just the truth. A year after the trial, Jenna moved in with me. That house, which had once felt like a trophy I had to defend, became something warmer. It filled with laughter and home-cooked dinners and lazy Sunday mornings with coffee on the porch. Kyle and other friends became regular visitors, gathering around the fire pit I built in the backyard, sharing stories under the stars. I had finally found my family. Not the one I was born into, but the one I chose. Looking back, I learned something important from this experience. Family is not just blood. It is the people who show up for you without conditions. The people who respect your boundaries and celebrate your success without jealousy. I spent years trying to earn love from people who had already decided I was not worth it. When I stopped trying, I found people who loved me without me having to prove a thing. Winning that court case did not bring me happiness. But it taught me this: you can love someone and still walk away from them. You can forgive without reconciling. You can understand someone's pain without letting them destroy you. Sometimes the hardest battle is not against your enemies. It is accepting that the people who were supposed to protect you chose not to. If you are watching this and going through something similar, please hear me. Setting boundaries is not selfish. Protecting yourself is not betrayal, and walking away from people who hurt you is not giving up on family. It is choosing yourself. Finally, and you deserve to be chosen, even if you have to be the one who does it. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up against your own family? Have you ever felt like the outsider in your own home? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is struggling right now. If this story touched you, please hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Every like, comment, and share helps more people find these stories when they need them most. Thank you for watching until the end. Thank you for listening. And wherever you are tonight, I hope you know your worth. I hope you find your people. And I hope you never stop choosing yourself. Take care of yourselves out there.